All right. I am honored to have Brian Treu, the man, the myth, and the legend with us today. And I have to call this out in advance. You're looking really good.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
Physically, you lean and mean. What do you got going on with the fitness that is just on point right now?
Been in the gym and cleaning up the diet, not eating late at night. And,
is it deliberate? Is it just kind of said, hey, I need to get this piece of my life kind of dialed in, or what's the?
Yeah, just health wise. I read an article that talked about age, and it said the physique you have by 50 is the physique you'll be able to maintain for the balance of your life.
Yeah.
But if you don't get there by 50, the likelihood of you getting there after that is highly unlikely. So I'm 48 now, and I thought I got a couple years to knock this out. So
I'm down 20 this year, and it's all the little Ozempic shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's all
right.
a little shot. But I was looking at pictures of me before. I was like, man, I got chubby. I didn't even notice it. I'm little fat face, and I was like, babe,
I got a few of those from a couple years ago. The wife sent to me. She's like, you need to do something. So
at least she'd tell you. Chelsea was, she wasn't as bold as.
Yeah, my wife she got after me, so I made some changes.
Hey, well, I'm really excited to chat and to kind of hear the story. So, our relationship, we work together or around each other forever. You're kind of always the same ecosystems, but as far as you going for it and going off on your own and actually sending it, maybe we go back to the beginning,
Sure.
Jumping to the end, just had an awesome exit, built really beautiful business, doing testing, right? Or certification.
Yeah.
So
education.
So give me kind of a little rundown on your business today and kind of what you do, and then we'll go back to the beginning.
Sure. So I do medical education. So I teach people medical procedures. So phlebotomy, IV, electrocardiograms, medical assistants, pharmacy technicians, a new program we're ramping up right now. So,
and that full certification, time that somebody needs to go to school to get certified is how long?
Yeah, anywhere from 4 weeks to 4 months. So medical assistants a little longer. Phlebotomy you can knock out 4 weeks, and we've got 90 plus campuses in 40 states right now.
So it's just it's a specialized trade.
Yep.
That if somebody comes in and gets this trade, all of a sudden instantly their earning potential kind of goes through the roof. Now they have a very actionable skill that they can go, tons of demand.
Absolutely. And the medical industry is a great place for it, right? It's never going to go away. Statistically speaking, we like to keep our students in a position where they can pay off their tuition with just about a month's worth of work.
Which is just
you can't turn that anywhere else.
It's just unheard of. You think about how screwed up the education system is now, and just this ballooning debt, this the promise of, hey, you go to school and you invest the money and then you get this outcome. It just is so different today than it was, at some point, where what you guys are providing is a solution where somebody has an actionable skill, but also aren't buried in financial liability.
Right. Mounds of legal debt or mounds of student loans, right? And that's what we're trying to avoid. We don't want kids to
what was kind of, obviously just took, private equity investment, really, awesome outcome for you and your partners. But what was the origin of this idea of this is going to work. People need this, and I'm going to go create it.
Yeah, it's actually when I first moved to Utah from Los Angeles, I was at the doctor's office and they're trying to draw my blood, and the gal couldn't get my blood. I'm like, well, where'd you get your training? And she just said, well, there's no training for this. And the light went off, and I said, surely we can teach people how to get blood out of an arm with a needle. And I started the school. I started with a guy named Jason Blood, ironically enough. And after a couple of years, bought him out, and then just kept expanding, and the business kept building and building and building. And one location turned into four.
This was what year?
This would have been in the early 90s.
Okay, so you've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah. This has been a baby of mine since right after high school.
See, I had no idea.
Oh yeah. There was a lot of fear, and that's what people always ask me. What was the holdback in getting to the point where you're at now? And the answer is fear. When you're a 21-year-old kid, 22-year-old kid. I had a couple kids at the time. I had 5x30, and I'm signing long-term leases, and I'm doing build-outs on tenant improvements, and I didn't want to tackle more of those until I had one paid for, and so I wouldn't expand until I could pay for the entire lease, a 3-year lease, in upfront.
Wow!
Because I didn't want the risk of defaulting on the lease.
Yeah.
So fear was a big driver of limiting the business's growth initially. And then once I hit, 16, then 18, and then 22 campuses, and then I was in like 11 states, I'm like, yeah, the fear went completely out the window. And then that's when I really buckled down and I had a lot of motivation to make it big. But what I didn't have at that point in time was discipline.
Okay.
And that was the business lesson that I've taught a lot of people. A lot of people know it. You know it. A lot of successful people know it, but I didn't. And I had to learn the hard way of what it took.
Give me examples of what that looks like. What does not being disciplined look like?
Yeah. So it's doing all the stuff no one else wants to do when no one's watching. I mean, that's really the bottom line, right? Got to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning because I've got to grade tests and I've got to get these curriculums prepared. I've got to get up to the campus and get the classroom prepared for the next group of students. During lunch, I've got to return phone calls. It's a grind, right? But you have to have discipline to keep that going. And a lot of people are like, I'm so motivated. I'll do anything to make it happen. And they're like their own hype man. But when the lights go down and it's just them and the raw business, they don't have the discipline to make it work. And
the grind,
the grit. And I had to develop that individually. And once I developed that and kind of developed that mentality and that lifestyle and getting up early in the morning and staying up late, all while maintaining a good family and work-life balance, which was tough. Like I said, I had 5 kids by 30. And so I really wanted to make sure that I never missed games. I never missed sporting events. And I still to this day have never missed any of my kids' stuff. But I wanted to make sure that I had the good work-life balance in there and be achieve what I wanted to achieve. Yeah. So the real bottom line is the grit, the grind, and the discipline. A lot of people
go back to the beginning again, because I look at it and it almost feels like an overnight success. But it's the opposite of that. I mean, this is a business like you've been building for a long time. Yep. Like you've given your life to it.
Yep, given the life to it. It kind of went, it kind of had that bell curve where it was fear. And then 8 or 10 years ago, the fear disappeared.
That was when it turned the corner.
Yep. And I just said, I've got to expand. And I started opening schools in California.
What was it? Was it getting the right mentors around you? Was it like getting the right kind of like what, or was it just like a personal, like I'm ready? Just kind of looking yourself in the mirror and saying, I'm ready. Like I know for me, I grew up in small town Logan, everything's just small, like the very contained. And so I didn't have a lot of mentors that I could look to. I had Gary Stevenson, was my rich dad. He was the guy that was one of the owners of Icon Health and Fitness, and they lived in a nice home, and they, had the things that I was like, man, if that's what I want to be when I grow up.
Yeah.
But I had a couple. I didn't have a lot, and even like self-limiting beliefs. You're just like, yeah, that's not me, or like I'm not worthy for that, or and when I talk to people, it feels like that's like pretty common. It's just like that. I'm not enough, or
it's a fear, right?
It's fear. Yeah. You look at other people and you think they're better, they're smarter, it's that like personal psychology.
And I was surrounded by a lot of guys like that, right? I lived over here in the condo complex in Provo. And when I lived there, I had people that were there that were very successful. Jeff Curl was living in there. And Peterson was close by, and all these guys that were really, really successful. And I was just this little dude just trying to make ends meet with a little tiny family.
Looking up to him.
And it was just like, how do I ever get to that point?
Yeah.
And so a lot of it was fear driven, in the early days. Like, I'm just not good enough. I'll just never be that. But I knew that if I had the grit and the grind, eventually if I could figure out how to harness that I could be successful.
Yeah.
And so we fast forwarded, until I was about 30, 48 now, maybe like in my early 30s. Fear just started to disappear. The money was rolling in. We were building the business. Things were expanding. We're getting business to business relationships.
Yeah.
And at that point, I lost all fear, and I just went.
And then it just went into go mode.
When you talk about mentors, though, to revisit that, there's a gentleman by the name of John Mattson, and he's the founder of a local company here in Utah, at the University of Utah, called ARUP. And they're one of the largest pathology testing companies in the world, multi-billion-dollar in sales. They're a great outfit. He's my dad's half brother.
Okay.
And he was really my mentor. And he passed away recently, but he would always just look me in the eye and just give me directives. Just do this. Don't do that. Do this. And just an incredible man. Really looked up to him. And there was a few others along the way, that I knew of and I'd talked to. But yeah, a lot of my growth and what I became was just waking up early and getting on the grind. Just learning it. Just one day at a time. Watching other people's failures, talking to other people and saying, why were you successful, or why did you fail at that? And seeing other people, kind of throw caution to the wind when it came to just their decision making.
Yeah.
Being a little bit risk averse, but not so much anymore. Just saying, hey, let's just go. We got one chance. And I did it younger, so that, I can't take those risks at 48 or 50 now, but I could have taken the risk at 32. And so that's when I did, because I could recover then.
Yeah.
You make too many risky moves at my age now. You may not have. I think I still got a window to recover in, but
no. But I actually see it like the exact opposite. Like guys like yourself, the muscle and like the emotional muscle, like just like like you can recreate it 100 times. Like you've kind of earned it up until this point. This is my personal philosophy is like you take all the money away from the wealthiest people and they'd have it again. Agreed. And it's because you get this muscle and this emotion, this skill set, and a lot of it's just the ability to problem solve. We were talking, we did this MW3 event where we kind of had all these people come out, and Gail Miller got up and spoke, and she was talking about Larry, and she was talking about wealth, like the definition of wealth. And she said, Larry's definition of wealth was, my wealth is what I have if I lost everything financially. And so that's the way he defined wealth. It was, my relationship with God, my relationship with my wife, with my kids, my relationships in the community, my health. And his quote after that was, I know that if I needed to go sell apples, that I'd go sell more apples than anybody else. So he just had that skill set, he had like that ability to go move stuff and also to like bring people together. And it's just, honestly, it's been fun to watch. It's been fun to kind of see this thing go from like, I'm a baby or I'm a teenager to like, oh my gosh, this is a real business. You have like some of the smartest people in the world looking at this.
Right.
And they're writing a, really big check.
Right.
Happily.
Yeah.
To go be a part of like the next phase of this journey. Like you've got to be like so proud.
Yeah, proud. One of the things that that I tell people all the time is you're not born with that skill set, right? Nobody's born just automatically successful and
fearless.
They're not born. You're not born like that. You have to develop it. Every guy who's gotten to a certain level and had exits and been financially successful or familially successful and any success in life, you build that. That's
so. I mean, what are those habits? I mean, we're over there and I'm just hammering some cookies and you're avoiding the cookies. Like, what are like the habits? And
it's the D word, man. It's the discipline, right?
Yeah, but I think like, what are those rituals? What are those kind of like, I do this every day.
I get up early.
What are those rules that you say, hey, this is why, this is what creates success for me?
Yeah. A 3:30 alarm. In
3:30.
Yeah. I'm sitting at my desk at 4 a.m. every day.
Wow.
Yeah. And I just get there and I can put in 4 hours worth of work before anybody even gets to the office. So that's my most productive time. That's when I build my momentum.
Is all morning.
All morning I build momentum. That's when I'm building momentum for the business. The balance of the day I spend doing maintenance on the business. And so I have the momentum time and the maintenance time.
That's incredible.
And those are my two. That's just how I do it. And so people always say to me, "Well, when do you rest?" Well, I take a nap in the afternoon because obviously I'm gassed.
I was going to say, right? Like, you wake up 3:45.
Right, I'm tired, right? And then people say, "Well, when do you go to the gym?" Well, I go to the gym during lunch. Because that's a good time for me to go because the gym, there's nobody in the gym, so I'm not waiting on
really
equipment.
Interesting. It's really like when I think about like personally my most productive times, for sure the mornings. Like there's like that window, but I'm like for me I'm up at 6 a.m.
Yeah,
I'm not up 3.
Well, a lot of my neighbors tease me because they'll stop by and, hey, is Brian around? And it's like in the summertime when it's
taking
like
a nap.
No, I'm in bed at 8:15 at night. Right, I'm going to sleep because they're like, "What is he doing in bed? It's still light outside, and we're going on a walk." And I get up early, and that's because that's when I can build the momentum. Right.
But is it just light you up? Is it just like a high to say like I know that I'm grinding, I'm being productive? Like, is it that momentum that you just like feels good? Like. Addicted to it.
Yeah, it's like the morning is like a drug for me because it's silent, it's quiet, it's fresh, it's clean, it's a new start.
Yeah,
you walk away from all the problems you had the prior day, and you get a fresh start.
I mean, morning's crazy. Like I think about different anxiety and different fear that I had. It's just like fatigue. Vince Lombardi quote. Fatigue makes a coward out of all men. And like when I'm like not my best, it's usually when fatigue kicks in. And you're. The stories in your head like aren't great. But when I wake up, I'm like bulletproof. Like there's something about like
exactly
when I get up, like it's on and it's happening.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the time to make plans is when you just feel certain, when you just have that like conviction.
The mental clarity.
Yep.
Right. You've walked away from the prior day's stresses and pressures and you're looking at a new day and you're saying, what can I do in the next 4 hours to build a lot of momentum for my business and my family and my personal life? And a little bit, maybe 30 minutes of reading in there, which I don't do a ton of reading, but I do read a little bit in there. a little studying.
But what are you doing? Like, what does that 4 hours consist of? You know, like you say a little bit of reading, but is it like?
It consists of mostly planning. It's building momentum. It's saying, okay, in the next 90 days, I need to open 3 more campuses. So I need to email Josh, my real estate guy, and tell him I need 3 more leases with tenant improvements lined out. I want to open up 3 more campuses. Okay, where can I do that? Can I look at a map while nobody else is, while I'm just alone? Say, okay, well, Detroit only has 1, but it's 4.5 million people. Let's open 2 more in Detroit. Let's stick 1 in Ann Arbor. It's just planning. It's just planning. All that's planning is momentum, but it's uninterrupted. It's quiet. It's mental.
It's like flow state.
Yeah.
You're just like,
I'm in the zone.
It's
my zone. It's my zone. And then 8 o'clock comes around, and then office calls. Hey, we had a campus over here have a problem. Hey, there's a flood in this campus. And then
that all turns on later.
But that's all maintenance.
Yep.
So I can spend 8 hours or 8 hours a day doing maintenance because I built my momentum time.
Yep.
And so I don't feel like I'm doing maintenance constantly. Your business will never grow unless you can build.
But is this, I've honestly, I've never heard this before. And I've spent time with a lot of super successful people. Like, is this like self-created? Is this something you taught or you learned from somebody? Or is this like, hey, this is
me.
This is Brian Treu.
Yep. I don't know if anybody else does. There may be other people. I wouldn't say that I'm unique in that regard.
Even like your language, how you describe it is, hey, this is when I work on strategy and growth.
Yep.
This is when I work on maintenance. I've never heard it phrased like that.
What it boiled down to at the start was this. I had to run the school, but I had to work day jobs. So I worked in clinical research, doing trials for investigational medications during the day. It was my day job. So I had to get up super, super early to do all my work in the medical training school.
You just had the habit.
Right. So then I would go to leave for work at 7, worked on 33rd South in Salt Lake, go from 8 to 5, working the day job. And then I would have to go back to then drive to the school at night and teach 5 nights a week.
Wow.
And so I'd have to return calls during lunch for sales calls, return lunch for the 5 to 6 window during sales calls. On the drive to work at 7 to 8, I would be driving, making return phone calls. And so just that grind, that perpetual
Brother, I had
circle.
no idea. I had no idea you grinded like this.
Oh yeah. My wife says, I did it for probably 15 years, just every day. And then I taught every day on Saturday. And then I would hire subs so I can make my kids' sporting events and do this, that, and the next thing. And then I'd cancel classes and be like, hey guys, sorry, but my kid's got an event I can't miss. So here's pizza and we're shutting down class in an hour. I've got to go family first.
That's incredible.
So it was a long grind to get to where we're at.
But you're still grinding. You love the grind.
I love the grind. I do have a window of opportunity that I feel like I'm really motivated by, which is about a 5-year window.
Yeah.
Predominantly because our PE group now that owns a little over half of the company wants to exit.
So you got to sprint. Like you have a real window in front of you to go.
Yeah. We got another 60 campuses to do on the medical training side, and then about 50 campuses for medical assisting, and build out the pharmacy technician program. And then we're buying tuck-ins, usually about 1 a month right now.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So interest rates are high. And so people aren't getting huge multiples for their companies. And so
now's a good time to buy.
Now's a great time to buy. We're paying really low multiples, and then we'll wait for the market to rebound. The rates will come back down, and they've got a lot of dry powder.
So how has that been? You didn't go do like all the formal education and all the different stuff, but you're getting
I got thrown into the deep end. What happened was
you're getting your MBA in real time.
Yeah. We hit a certain mark, and what we did was I did a quality of earnings through a renowned financial firm, so that I knew that it would be so that PE groups would accept
airtight.
it.
Yeah,
it's airtight. So I knew that when any PE group that looked at this was going to look at it and go, "We've heard of RSM, or we've heard of Ernst & Young, we've heard of Deloitte." Those big firms, I knew I had to pick one that was going to be really good. So we got a quality of earnings done, and it checked out completely, and we had huge margins, and our growth rate was going crazy. And so at that point, we didn't want to go out and just take PE money. At that point, we wanted to I did a debt instrument, which would put us on the map. So first thing we did was took some money off the table to kind of do a dividend recap for some of the to pull some money off the table. And then they did a press release. And when that press release hit about the dividend recap and that we were growing and we were this size, we had 232 PE companies call us. That was about right when I talked to you.
Yeah.
About a month before that, I talked to you here.
I'm thinking about air balls in my career. And I'm like, what's a bigger air ball than not getting in on your deal?
Yeah.
And I can't think of too many.
I wouldn't look at it like that.
That's how I'm looking at it.
So we narrowed it down to 10 companies, did the dog and pony show for an entire summer. I was the CFO, I was the CEO, I was doing everything. So I was doing bookkeeping and managing the books and doing, literally everything, P&Ls, balance sheets, the whole thing. And it was all self-taught because I didn't have a CFO. And every PE group said to us, it is impossible for a company to get to this size without a CFO. There's no possible way. How did you do this? And I'm like, well, I downloaded, QuickBooks for Dummies and started doing that. And then I downloaded, I talked to CFOs and said, well, how does this carry over from one balance sheet to the income statement to the P&L? And just learned it and just raw dogged it for a better term, just went after it, right?
Like legitimately, it's unbelievable. You're blowing my mind right now.
So I did that. And then once we did that, then we narrowed it down to about 10 groups, and we had 10 groups chomping at the bit, and they were all right there to 15X.
So talk to me about like why you chose the partner that you chose. Like what was ultimately like, was it a feel? Was it a relationship? Was it, obviously the price had to be there. You had competition in the market.
Yeah.
But you had other good partners. You had other good people pursuing you.
There were plenty of good private equity groups looking at us. The group we selected out of New York, it's the people. It's the relationships, right? They said, Brian, we're not investing in what you do. We're investing in you because as an entrepreneur, we're buying, we want you.
Yeah.
And so your business is cool, and we feel it's got a great niche, and it's in healthcare and education, which is where we want to be.
And that's
what we
kind of their
specialize
specialty too, right?
That was their specialty,
Yeah.
Healthcare and education. We were a perfect fit, but it was really the people. Their staff, unparalleled people, just salt of the earth, and they're really amicable, and they're understanding. And I'm a little bit more of an emotional, vibrant, dynamic guy, and they're just numbers people. Right. So I can present this incredible thing and be super hyped up about it. And they go, okay, yeah, we like that. But they're just really not on the motion with that.
Yeah.
But I like them. I like them a lot. They're
a
great
good
people.
counterbalance.
Great counterbalance. And they let me be emotional, and they let me be fired up and dynamic and vibrant and energetic without trying to hold me back. They're like,
so talk to me about your kids, because I know you have kids working in the business. We were talking about that, and it's like you've got to be doing something right on the home front to have like the kids that you have.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like they're just like exceptional.
We did the best we could, right? Just young parents. By 29, we had 5. And so we'd go to the mall here in Orem, and people would be like, you guys are such cute older siblings to these kids. And we're like, no, these are our kids. And people are like, there's no way.
Which somebody the other day, my daughter, one of their friends asked if I was her older brother, and I was pretty pumped on that.
You're pumped about that, right?
Like I feel pretty good about that.
It feels good when you stay in shape, and then you look younger. But I used to teach the business out of my Honda Civic when I first started it. And I've got some pictures I can share with you of my old 90 Civic that's got all my sharps containers and blood drawing equipment and stuff in there. It's wild. But, it was back then when my kids realized, like, what is dad doing? Like, I'm like, I work my business out of my car. And so they saw the grind, right? They saw that effort.
Yeah.
Level, right. So at 5 years old, I taught my daughter Alexis how to draw blood when she was 5. And then I would take her around with me to hospitals, and I'd let her draw on patients back then, which would be frowned upon today.
I think it's probably illegal. Right?
Yeah, 25 years ago, but she's 27 now. And so when she came home from her mission in Alaska, she came home and I made her my chief operations officer. She worked with my wife, who was involved in the business at the time, and they worked.
Is she just like a machine? Like, does she just get it done, or what?
She was a sterling scholar, very intelligent.
I mean, to go
she's a
step
problem
in
solver
at that age,
yeah,
and especially like the COO role. That's like you got to be a tack driver. Like you have to get stuff done.
Yeah. She's incredible. I mean, I can honestly say that between when she came home from her mission when she was 21, I'd say between 21 and 26. Yes, I think she's been with the company about 5 or 6 years now. She worked with my wife, who was doing the chief operations stuff back then.
Yeah.
And my daughter's a great mix. My wife was very soft and gentle with people, and I'm very hard in driving, and Lexi's a great balance.
She's in the middle.
She's in the middle. She manages teams of people. And every PE group we talked to, ironically enough, all said to us, if we don't do this deal, do you think we could hire Lexi? And I'm like, no, she's sticking around with me. And
well, the group that you went with, weren't they like,
they're enamored with her?
Hey, like you got to keep her.
They love her. They love her. I think they like the fact that I think they invested in the company partially. Well, a lot of the reason they invested in the company is because of her.
It was so cool.
So and then I've got my son Jackson, and he's working for another company that I started up full time. And then I've got a son who's just wants to go play golf, and
which I was watching his launch monitor stuff, and it was like ungodly, like the drives he was hitting.
Yeah, it hits at a mile, 140 pounds, and he hits at 375. It's crazy.
I've never seen anything like it.
It's wild. And then my daughter's Delaney's on a mission in Anaheim, and then my little 17-year-old is mom's little broke best friend. So
it's so cool, man. Congratulations. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Life is crazy.
Life is crazy. Never thought we'd get here, but we're here, and now we're trying to take what we've done and what we've earned and parlay that into helping others. And I've got a few hobbies that I do, and we're just very happy and very content with where we're at. We'll kind of switch gears a little bit, but so if you're going back and you're talking to Brian Treu when you're 21, you go talk to the 21-year-old Brian Treu. Like, what advice are you giving yourself? Like if you said, hey, do these 3 things and it'll speed up, Yeah.
It'll put you on a better track.
Yeah.
Like, what would you tell yourself?
I tell myself to not be scared. I mean, fear owned me Like literally fear owned me from 20 to 30.
Paralyzed.
It's paralyzing. It's paralyzing. There's just so much fear. Hey, your lease is going to be $233,000 for this 5 years. You got to sign a personal guarantee. And I'm like, I don't even own a home. Like I didn't own a home until like 10 years ago. Until I was like 38. I rented homes. So when I'm renting a home, but I'm signing a $250,000 lease, that's scary.
Wow.
And I had 6 or 7 of those on the hook and I still didn't own a home. And so I would tell myself, don't sweat the risk. Or don't let fear paralyze you.
Yeah.
Just go, push hard. And then work ethic I had to kind of develop into. So I tell myself to work harder and stay committed. And then I've been able to avoid the noise outside, right? Like I don't have any social media accounts. I don't do any of that kind of stuff. I stay completely off the grid.
You just stay like,
yeah. Nobody knows who I am. I mean, I meet people and they're like, do you know Brian Treu? No, I don't know that guy. I like being anonymous. I don't like the fact that I don't want to be known. I want to be the richest guy that nobody knows. And that's my goal. I just want to be off the grid.
So cool.
Matter of fact, this is the first podcast I've done. And as crazy as it might sound, I was telling your guys, I've never even watched a podcast in my entire life.
So like this is a passion project for me. And it's actually something I've wanted to do for a long time. Because we, and specifically with our business right now, like we have, hundreds of high net worth founders, family offices, people that have had like, a ridiculous amount of success. And I'm like, these stories are just incredible. Like the gold and like the habits and the rituals and the wisdom, like to go get an exit is really hard. To go build a great business is really hard. When you think about statistically,
oh yeah,
how many businesses fail in the first 5 years?
Yeah.
How many fail in the next 5 years?
Oh yeah.
How many get over $1 million of revenue, $10 million of revenue? Like you start getting in, you're like, this is the percent of like 1%. Like it just doesn't happen. Yeah. But then I'm like, well, like, how do we not document it? How do you not like tap into like that gold, especially like for like that next generation of leader that's coming up that is the 21-year-old Brian Treu, that is kind of like got all the ambition, all the heart, all the desire with no skill set and no mentors, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like for me, like I love hearing it. I'm sitting here listening to this being like, I had no idea you grinded the way that you grinded for as long as you've grinded.
Yeah.
Like I just didn't know that the company had been around that long.
Yeah. Little tiny in its infancy, but just kept it going. Ironically, I had probably 5 opportunities to sell along the way. And everybody said to me, hey, listen, $500,000 is a lot of money if you want to sell your company for that. I was like, whoa, man, that's super tempting. I could pay off my house and I'd be set. And this is just in the last 10 years. And then I talked to, hey, look, you can have $1 million exit. Nobody really gets those. And then so, hey, can you get a $10 million exit? It's a lot of money. But every single time I had those offers on the table sitting on my desk, like full term sheets ready, offers ready to sign, I felt like I was going to throw up.
You just never felt it.
It never felt right.
Like it was never.
Nope. And then when the offer came across and it was 9 figures, I'm like, that's baller. That's big time.
That was the first time where you're like,
yeah, I did
it.
Yeah. If I got a 9-figure offer on my desk, that's going to make it happen.
But I mean, you
for
guys
me.
could legitimately be like 10 figures or like high nines. You know
we'll
what
be
I
high
mean?
nines.
Like if you guys go execute, like.
Yeah, we execute. We're well on our way to executing, the rule of 40, they say companies, if you're 20% growth and 20% margin, you're a rule of 40 company. Right now we're a rule of 80. So we've got a 40% margin and we're 40% growth year over
honestly,
year.
like I wish I like you said you're making me feel good, but you're actually making me feel bad right now. You're making me feel less educated and FOMO, massive FOMO.
No, don't feel that way. There's plenty of deals to do in the future, right? We can do more deals.
There for sure is, but that was like a.
But yeah, we anticipate.
You just don't find businesses like your business, like
very unique.
And what's crazy is this is the piece that I missed, and it's probably just for me not knowing you well enough. I didn't know about the grind.
Yeah.
I didn't know about the 4 a.m. I didn't know about like cause that's like, ultimately that's the difference between success and failure.
Agreed.
It's all the stuff that no one sees. It's all the stuff that happens when everybody else is sleeping.
Yep, that's exactly right. It's the stuff that you have to do when no one's watching, because people want to perform, right? It's like the gym concept. People go to the gym in their house and they're like, I can't really get into it. But when you go to the gym and there's 100 people around, well, you have to use the machine because they're waiting for it. And
social.
It's a social thing, right?
Yeah.
You got to go. You got to grind. But I'm the guy that says, look, I don't need the spotlight. I just want to perform when no one's looking, because that gives me freedom during the day, because I know I built enough momentum in the morning, and then allows me to do what I want when I want to do it. and I can spend the rest of the day building maintenance. And then I don't feel bad at the end of the day saying, I just did maintenance again. I just did maintenance again, because maintenance doesn't build the business. You've got to corner off time for momentum.
We were at Vivint, and we brought in Urban Meyer to come kind of speak to the company. And this is when Urban was at Florida. They just won 2 national championships. Wow. He was kind of like at his peak. And I've always been like a junkie of college football.
Yeah.
And just coaching in general. Like, I think about the people that have influenced me the most in my life. A lot of them were coaches. You know, I was a high school football coach or a baseball coach or somebody that believed in me more than I believed in myself. And, you know, like, they just like were so important in that stage of my life. And so I've always been a big Urban Meyer fan. You know, even like today, he gets a bunch of crap for, you know, mistakes he's made, but I'm still like, I'm a big Urban Meyer fan. But he said something that was so, I can't like unhear it. And he said, somebody was talking to him about, you know, his career, and he said, building is energy, maintaining is fatigue. And that was kind of his philosophy. It's like, when I'm building something, when I'm growing, when I'm expanding, when I'm, you know, in that, it's exciting for everybody. Yeah. When you go into maintenance mode where that's all you're doing and you're not spending that time creating, that's where you get tired. That's where you lose your passion. That's where you kind of lose your purpose.
I would agree.
It's in the creation that's the energy. You know what I mean? And it's amazing how you build a system to capture that.
Yeah. My father was a big influence on me as well. He was going into LA every morning for 2 hours, worked all day long, then 2-hour drive home, ecclesiastical responsibilities many nights a week. I didn't see a ton of him. But one thing that he said to me when I was young, he reiterated that almost my entire life, was he would always use both of his big giant, you know, hands, and he would say, build, don't destroy. Build, don't destroy. And so I've always had this mentality of, you know, these calloused hands. You know, my father, when he was young, he would, when I was young, we would have a service project, and instead of getting a little shovel to move stuff, he would go buy manure shovels for everybody, because he'd say, you need to work harder. You need to have more of a grind, and you can move more and do more with every single motion. And just that build, don't destroy mentality is what I've just adopted. So I just want to build. And so when I do that in the morning, it allows me to not feel fatigued by the maintenance.
Yeah.
And it grows. And it grows effectively. Though now I've got a system built, and now I can really capitalize it. And then we're also parlaying some of the money that we've made into other businesses, which we're pretty excited about.
Yeah, so cool. So maybe go back to the beginning. How did you meet your wife? And how has your wife factored into the journey? Like, when you think about like,
you got to be careful here. You don't really let me get emotional, right?
No, but this is like, you know, I had my wife. Me and my wife actually did one of these a couple weeks ago.
Oh, nice.
And we're just talking about 18 years.
Yeah.
And talking about the highs and the lows and the really lows, you know, and what I've found is, like, anybody that's building something, no one goes alone. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I wouldn't be where I'm at today without my wife. I met her at the Palace Dance Club in Provo on high school night, way back in the late 92, early 93. And I knew the music stopped, the sound, that's the woman you're going to marry.
Come on.
I'm dead serious.
In high school.
I tell the story all the time to people. I walked over on the dance floor. She was dancing with some other guy. I just stood there next to her looking at her like, she said, what? And I said, you're dancing with the wrong guy. And I got her number and courted her and dated her. And we met in April of 93. And I married her in May of 95. So we've been together 28 years now in May. Wow. And I've known her 30. And one thing about Christina that's super incredible is she's never talked bad about anybody. She's the most genuine human being you'll ever meet. And she was the biggest support. Like, when I was having fear, she was just this huge champion, just huge coach for me, just this huge push. You can do it. No one can stop you. There's nothing you can't accomplish.
She believed in you?
She believed in me, and she took a chance on me. And I'll tell you what, I mean, you know, we've got a great marriage, and I'm grateful for it. It's
28 years.
28 years, yeah.
Well, that's the real thing.
That's the real deal right there.
Well, especially, like, you know, that's the one where, you know, like, me and my wife are different creatures today than we were 18 years ago. Yeah, like, we're different animals, you know, like, you just realize you're either growing together or you're growing separate. And you know, you think about divorce and you're like, it's 50%.
Oh, yeah, it's pretty wild out there.
Potentially higher at this point. And you think about 28 years, and not just 28 years, but like 28 years and you actually still like each other.
Yeah. 28 years of ups and downs. I show my kids, they think it's funny because my younger kids don't really get it yet because they think that we've always had nice things because of where we're at in the last 2 or 3 years, right? But I showed my kids a $14,531 tax return when I had 3 children. And they're just like, Dad, how do you survive on 14 grand a year?
No, I'm
like, well, we had a lot of top ramen, and if I could crack an egg into my top ramen,
that was like a delicacy.
I was living large that night, boys. So yeah, looking back, it was a grind, man. Financial grind, psychological grind, a physical grind.
And she was just down the whole time.
She was down. She was just down all the time. She was never down about like, are we going to make it? Are we going to make it? It was always just wake up in the morning, smile on her face. It's another day. Let's go make something happen. Like a support system. She gave me a support system that enabled me to be who I am today. I couldn't have done this without her. There's no possible way. She literally, like they say, behind every great man is an even better woman. I am the poster child for that.
But talk about like the habits and rituals that you guys have had to like keep a good marriage. Like what do you guys like? What are the stuff that's just non-negotiables? It's like, this is what we do to,
Yeah. First off, you should know, and everybody should know this. It just hasn't been smelling like roses for 30 years since we met.
Of course.
But we've had our ups and downs, but we go on a lot of vacations. We date and we go do stuff together. She has a lot of, she's a motorhead. So she likes to go to the NHRA races every April and October.
But what does that mean? Like, is it like we go once a quarter?
Oh no. We vacation probably we try to do a week a month.
Okay. So you guys go experience it.
Oh yeah, we've been to Bora Bora this year and Grand Cayman and Hawaii, and we go. We spend that quality time alone. The rule is that if she wants to go play with me, I'm fine to go play because I'm a work guy, right? That's where I get my validation from. But she has a rule that I'm allowed to work every single day on vacation until the laptop battery dies. And then it's done. And I'm not allowed to charge it. And I can't, she sees me sneaking down the dimmer and she's like, don't,
because you're addicted. Like it's
not really addicted. I just have a window. Casey, you can appreciate it, right? Yeah. I don't want to do this till I'm 65. I want to build my business. I want to sell again. And then I want to be able to go do investing in other little companies and mentor younger kids that are coming up and spend time with my grandchildren, which I don't have any, by the way. But when that day comes, I want to go do those things. I don't want to be.
Feel that urgency.
Yeah. I feel a sense of urgency to finish up, partially because of my private equity group that's backed us at this point. But also just an individual sense of urgency to know that I don't want to spend I saw my father work his whole life. Yeah. Way into his 70s. It just wasn't the life I wanted for me. And so I really want to wrap up and finish
it's 28 years and you're talking about Bora Bora and all this like nice things, but like that's not your whole marriage. I mean, there's a lot of your marriage. Like,
no, we did sand dunes for a long time. We had an old truck with a camper and we had no money. And my father-in-law, Chris Treu'S, he would go fill up my gas tank in my truck before the sand dune trips and buy us food. And
isn't that like the good stuff in life though? Like when you like really look back, you're just like, I was as happy then. Yeah. At the sand dunes. Oh yeah. In an old beat up truck than like the nicest 5-star that you can go to.
Oh yeah. Yep. Looking back, the time was amazing, but and I'd love to mention this, that my father-in-law was, without those little people that help you, right? And that's what I want to be. My father-in-law would bring groceries and my mother-in-law would watch the kids when Christina had to work a part-time job.
Like they know like when you're in the struggle, like they know.
And they were right there, all the support in the world. Like I married into the best family any human being could possibly marry into. Like I feel incredibly blessed to be.
I mean, I had this, I've been doing this executive program at Harvard and it's called Owners, Presidents, Managers. So it's kind of like a YPO, you got to own a business, you got to have 10 million of revenue. And so the cohort of people is really great, but we went out there. It's a 3-year program, just went out, the second year. And I'm just hanging, completely international. Everybody's from all over the world. Mm. And I get on kind of the WhatsApp today, and one of the guys who, like, I was literally just hanging out with, we're at a restaurant, is like in his basement, like bomb shelter in Israel right now.
Oh, wow.
Like right on the border of Gaza.
Oh, wow.
And he's just like, multiple friends have died. Mm. And like, you have like these moments where you're just like, man, life is fragile. Like one day you're just like on top and you're doing it, and the next one you're not. And I think that's the one where I've always felt that urgency where I'm like, if I've got music to play, I need to play it. Like if there's, and me and Chelsea the same thing. We try to like date, like go on a date a week. Mm-hmm. We try to go on, trips as much as we can do, and we love our friends. Like it's almost impossible not to like go with our friends because we love friends so much.
Right.
But we try to be disciplined, say, let's just me and you go. Like let's us disappear and go. And I look at our relationship today, and our marriage wouldn't be the same if we wouldn't have prioritized that time.
Agreed.
You know what I mean? Like there's something about like coming back and connecting, and so I'm fascinated, like for people that do have great marriages, how they do it. You know what I mean? Like what are the like systems that you put in place to?
Well, one system, we had a lot of years where we fought, and now when we're not happy with each other, we just walk in and I'll just start embracing her until I break the wall down, or she'll do the same thing.
How long did it take?
We were probably in our late 20s, early 30s before we figured out that being combative wasn't the solution.
Yeah,
because there was a lot of yelling arguments.
Because you're like a bull in a china house. Like you're like you go.
Yeah, I go, and she's pretty dainty and quiet, and so it was very domineering. And you dominate every conversation. So I had to really learn to stop and say, "Hey, guess what? You're upset with me, and I'm upset with you. Let's just start this off with an embrace until you can feel the tension leave." And then you just,
that's cool.
It's just, it's work. People always say, how do you make 28 years? How'd you do it? I'm like, it's as hard as, building a company to a huge exit is just as hard as staying married. And I shouldn't say that because my wife was very easy to be married to. I think I was harder to be married to than she was. Yeah. She was very easy to be married to. I've been tough, but you carry a lot of pressure, stress, anxiety, fear, and you're managing 500 employees, and there's just a lot going on in your life. Right. And then you've got kids, and Christina is just carefree. She's just like, we got dinner tonight, and we got a warm bed to sleep in. And
no, it's a
and we're going to be going on vacation next week, and I've got a little airplane that I fly.
I mean, imagine if she was the same as you. Oh, like it'd be a problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So we go on little trips in the plane, just down to Vegas, little short trips.
She like it?
She loves it.
Yeah.
Yep. So we enjoy doing that. But yeah, it's very important to invest in your relationship just as much as you invest in that momentum time in the morning when no one's around. Your time you spend with your wife should be building momentum in your relationship and solidifying it and making it strong.
No, that's great.
Yeah.
What was like I'm going to give a gift to myself. Like you've sacrificed for so long. What was like hey, I'm going to indulge. I'm going to splurge like this. This is irresponsible and I'm doing it. Like, was there anything that like fell in that boat of like, hey, I'm like, I've grinded for a long time and like, I'm going to do something, you know, that.
So when I was first married, I wrote myself a note. My wife and I used to go buy Slurpees and buy the Auto Trader.
Of course.
Right? The actual paper Auto Trader.
Yeah.
And we would lay on the bed and circle all the cars we wanted to buy someday.
Come on.
No, I'm dead serious. I have a picture of us doing it. Sitting on the bed when we were just first married, just circling cars.
Just dreaming. Just daydreaming.
Right? Just daydreaming. Like, I want a Jeep so bad. Stuff today that you'd be like, it's a Jeep, right? But back then it was a pipe dream, right? We were driving
stuff, man.
She was driving a 76 Chev 3/4 ton Forest Service truck that was from the Forest Service that we bought for $700, and I was driving a 72 Celica that wouldn't turn off unless I put a wet towel over the carburetor. We had nothing, man. We had nothing. But
you were dreaming.
When the deal happened, so on one of those Auto Trader covers, or on one of the open pages, I still have it. I wrote myself a note that said, "When you turn 45, you're going to buy yourself a Ferrari." And so when I turned 45, I bought myself I bought a 488 Spider. So, and it was probably a little irresponsible because it happened 3 months into COVID, and my neighbors are, seeing that, and they're probably like, these people are losing their jobs, not going to work. And this guy rolls up in a new Ferrari. It's like, come on.
A little tone deaf right now.
Yeah, but we had done really, really, really well, and it was a promise that I made myself. A little irresponsible in the timing, probably didn't look very good to my neighbors and family. But at the same time,
I just don't care about that stuff. Like the older I get, the less I care.
Yeah.
Like it's like the people who love you and know you, like
they're happy for
love you. And the people who don't want you to fail anyway. Yep. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that's, if I've gone through any maturation over time, it's just knowing that like, I'm a people pleaser by nature. Like I want people to like me. And I think that's probably natural. I think most people kind of want, but I've got more comfortable just realizing you can't be everything to everybody.
Yeah.
And if I can be authentic to myself, then I can like be really happy.
Yeah.
And I look at that experience and I'm like, that's such a beautiful experience. It's never something you should ever apologize for. If anything, like you should be proud of living the American dream, of setting a goal.
Yeah.
And being able to execute it. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that's like a super cool story.
Yeah, it was people always ask me along the way, they're like, don't you feel like you're missing out? And I said, no, the peace and quiet of not having to worry about what's going on social media and where people are posting their cars and their boats. And I was like, that doesn't appeal to me. I don't need people to know what I've got or what I'm doing. I don't really care what anybody thinks of me. And my son Chandler, he's the king of this. Like, he doesn't care what anybody thinks of him. And he's like, I got that from you. And I'm like, yeah, you shouldn't care. You'd be surprised how little people think of you.
They don't
think about you. And you think they do. That person's probably, what do they think of me? They're not thinking about you.
They don't. They're thinking about them.
That's exactly right.
All of us are thinking about us and, our finances and our marriage and our business and, you know what I mean?
Yep. I got a lot of neighbors who give me their 2 cents on my life and where I live. And why don't you go move to this city, move to that city? I'm like, I'm a Lehigh guy, man. I've been here 20 years. I'm staying in Lehigh. It's just, I got a house in an average neighborhood and a nice home, and I got a nice warm bed to sleep in, and I travel a lot and do a lot of good things. But at this point, it's not about what I have. It's more about what I can do with
what you can go create.
What I can go create again. And how many lives can I bless with what I've been given?
Yeah.
And be a, I think the Millers were great examples of this. They're stewards of the success. And so being able to parlay that onto the next generation or help people out or get involved in deals and mentor kids that are
super cool.
Yeah. Stuff like that. So,
and you're doing more of that now, right? Yeah. I remember talking to you saying that you went and did an entrepreneurship program at Corner Canyon, doing more mentorship, doing more kind of coaching.
Yep. So I went and spoke at the deck at Corner Canyon. That was a good, fun experience. The kids love the stories, and the stories are what sticks with them.
No, I love the stories.
And so I left there, and the kids were just like, "This is so crazy. This is so inspiring." And I'm like, "It's inspiring, and it's going to motivate you, but you don't forget you need discipline."
Yeah, but you got to tell more of the stories. Like I think that mentality of, hey, I don't do social media or I don't do these other things. Like, I'm just saying that's a pretty good story. And I think there are like people that are desperate, or hungry to go get, I just think 2023 is a unique age in the history of the world where we have access to the knowledge of the world just at our fingertips. You know what I mean? You think about like 50 years ago, 100 years ago, it's like you're exposed to what you're exposed to. Yeah. But I think anyway, it's a really exceptional.
Well, if the platforms are out there, I'd love to share the story.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of little tidbits people can pull away from them. A lot of the kids to the Corner Canyon have reached out and said, hey, man, this part of what you said,
no, it's cool,
really hit home with me. And the one thing there was one kid that was having a hard time with a certain task he was doing. And I used a quote that somebody else said a long time ago that I've adopted. And that is, he said, I'm having a hard time doing this. And I said, the nature of what you're doing isn't going to change, but your power to do it is going to increase the more you do it.
Yeah.
And that's not the exact quote, but it's something along those lines. And he just hit home and he goes, so the more I do it, the better I get at it. And I'm like, yeah. And he says, I just don't like doing it. And I'm like, that's where the discipline comes in.
Yeah.
You have to do what you don't want to do, because it makes you better ultimately.
Yep.
So I've loved those. That Corner Canyon thing was great for me. I loved doing it. John, a gentleman by the name of John, invited me up there to do it, and I'd go do those all the time if I had the opportunity, because it's good for the kids.
Who are the people that inspire you? What's your top 3 or top 5 in your life that you're like, hey, this person has been like an inspiration to me. They inspire me to be better.
Yeah. My wife, one, my kids, all of them jointly, universally, they're a tight knit group, and they really inspired me to be great and to do great things. And then outwardly, outside of my family, some ecclesiastical leaders that I really admire.
Who do you got? Who is it?
Just a couple former bishops.
Yeah, who are they? The specific matters, because like there's things and there's people.
Yeah,
and what they did, and I think that's what I'm trying to pull out is
he's passed away now. His name was Paul Cook.
Yeah.
And he was a local entrepreneur, and he told my wife, he said to me one day in an ecclesiastical meeting, he says, you never go a week without dating your wife. And that just stuck. It just stuck. I'm like, I'm doing that. And so he was one of those guys. And then outside of that, people like David Goggins, people that are just like, they have that grind. They got that mental grind. I was reading Goggins' second book, and we were born on the same day. So I'm like, same day, February 17th, 1975. We share the same birthday. And I thought, that just hit home. I'm like, that's the day, man. That's the day.
I remember this. I got great. Like, I'm a big David Goggins fan.
Yeah.
And like, honestly, he fires me up. I listen to it, and I'm just like, I'm soft, and I need to go get hard.
I could pass with the language as much. The language is aggressive.
This is the best part of the story. And so like, for me, like, I don't mind that stuff at all. I'm just like, whatever. but I posted it on like on like an Instagram account, and my sister-in-law goes and puts it in like with her like kids. She's like driving in the van. And she's like, she'd be like, hey, like, does the language ever show? She got Goggins just like ripping it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's the mental discipline, right? I'm going to push myself further than anyone else can. And what I like about pushing myself mentally further is the break that I see in the competition. So the further I push myself mentally, it literally breaks other people. That's a differentiator. Right. They break and they go, I just don't have that in me. And I know a lot of people, I work with people like that on occasion, and they're just like, how do you work 20 hours a day? And I say to them, you just have to have it's a differentiator, and you have to develop that. And there are people that I know that I'm working on helping them develop that, but that's the differentiator. It's that mental side of you that says, I'm not going to bed. And you want to go to bed. Everybody wants to, go rest and lay down. Nah, got to go grind some more.
So, but obviously wife, big inspiration, kids, big inspiration, doing it, for the family, ecclesiastical leaders that just give you like key advice, some of these outside influences that maybe you don't know, but they just like inspire you to be better. Who else would fall on that list of like kind of that? I had a, mentor of mine, early coach, early kind of boss, a guy named Sean Brenchley. Mm-hmm. And Sean did this training one time that I've always remembered. And he talked about your totem pole. And he gives, kind of this visual of a totem pole. And he kind of said, hey, who's the top? Who's that person that you like? When you're putting on this totem pole, like who's the person at the top that just like inspires you to be better? And then also he's like, who's on the bottom? Who's the like your nemesis? Who's the one that like
interesting?
And I remember going through that exercise and saying like, hey, who am I doing it for? Just because like I want to show them they didn't believe in me, and I want to show them.
It's funny you say that.
And then who's the one that's like, man, I'm doing it because it like inspires me to be better.
Yeah, I think that this is my opinion. I know Sean, great guy, not super well. We've talked a few times, but the totem pole for me, I've got to get rid of my bottom half, because that's the stuff that I hang on to. Like the 6th grade teacher, Miss Kirkian, who told me that I would never amount to anything.
Yeah,
I know their names. Miss Cohen. I know all my high school teachers that said to me, "You're a waste. Why are you here? You're never your grades are horrible. Why don't you just quit school?" All of those little statements that were made along the way, I held on to those. And I'd like to get rid of the bottom half of the totem pole, because although they drove me to a certain level, it's not healthy. It's not healthy anymore. Yeah. And not that Sean does that. Just speaking from my own personal experience, I like to get rid of the bottom half of the totem pole. But yeah, my father's up there. My wife, the ecclesiastical leader's right down the line. Yeah. And I just love the inspirational quotes that, old war leaders have said. Patton has said, I don't know any off the top of my head, but I've read through them a lot of times. Marcus Aurelius has a lot of crazy quotes about different people and how, some things that they've said. I just love the quotes, because they're just snippets of just really solid information that you just go, yeah, I like that. But yeah, I really can't pinpoint too many more people other than just close family, a couple of ecclesiastical leaders.
What's your definition of entrepreneurship? If you were to sum up being an entrepreneur is what?
Wearing every hat. I mean, I had to when I first started my business, early 90s, like I couldn't afford a web programmer. So I taught myself HTML and PHP programming because I didn't have a web guy. So I had to use a Word, we didn't have WordPress. So I had to teach myself how to make a form that people could fill out to register for class. Probably took me 2 weeks. Taught myself that. How do you get a credit card account, merchant account? How do you get a business license? So it's really just the ability to say, I need this, and I'm going to make enough phone calls and talk to enough people until I figure it out. Yeah. Entrepreneurship is just bottom line. I'm doing it all, and there's nothing I can't do. There's nothing I won't do, and I'll never stop.
Yeah. But I think that scares people. I mean, it kind of scares me. Like there's just like stuff that I'm just not capable. My entrepreneurial journey was way different. I got real specialized in one thing, and I've actually I don't wear all the hats. I've kind of figured out how to wear one hat really great, and I'm at least smart enough leader to hire the hats around me. Right. But the idea of me doing those things you're doing, I'm this scares the crap out of me. I don't know if I could have done it.
I disagree with you. I think you're very capable, and I think you could do anything. You're just in a position where you don't have to.
I don't have to today. Yeah. But there's a point in my life where I probably should have, and I was scared. Yeah.
It goes back to the fear,
had some inferiority complexes. You kind of think, oh man, they're smarter, they're more capable or whatever. And, it actually, there's a lot of those things. I'm I wish I would have tried them more, and I'm better at being okay, being crappy at things the last 10 or 15 years than I was when I was younger. You know, I was scared to suck back in the day. And, you know, I'm less
scared to fail.
I'm less scared to suck now.
If somebody had told me, hey, your business is going to fail when you're 28, I'd have been like, okay, great. But if they said, hey, your business is going to fail when you're 28, but you got $1.5 million in leases you have a personal guarantee on, I think that's what scared me.
That scared you.
The business failure didn't scare me at a young age.
It was the liability.
It was the liability that scared me. And so I avoided that by just growing slow.
Yeah.
A smart guy, you know, every smart man says the same thing. You know, they say, I don't know everything, but I hire smart people and they tell me what to do.
Yeah.
And so that's Steve Jobs thing. They asked him before he died, what's your greatest achievement? And everybody says he's going to say the iPhone or he's going to say the Macintosh. You know what he said? He said, my greatest achievement was the team that I built that built the iPhone.
Wow.
Not the phone itself, but building the team that could actually build the iPhone was his greatest accomplishment.
Yeah.
That says a lot. And so I'm in that same boat right now. I'm building a team of people with some recent hires now that the PE's kind of right there.
Well, what's an interesting like data point is like those things that you learn, those definitely made you the man that you are. But the business didn't take off until you brought in the team, you know, until you brought in some of these people that could do these things better. You know what I mean? Like it's interesting to like look at it and say like, that was a journey you had to go walk. Yeah, but as far as like doing what you're doing today, imagine trying to wear all those hats today.
It's impossible, it's like, right? 500 employees, it'd be impossible. I remember my first hire. I was making my K1s, just pulling money off business, but I didn't have anybody that was more than a $15 hour employee. And then I wanted to hire this lady that was really key and intricate part of the business that was going to help us expand quickly. And her name was Heidi Gray. And I remember my wife coming to me and she's like, Heidi wants $60,000 a year. And I was like, oh, babe, we don't pay anybody more than like $12,000 a year. And I sucked up and paid for that. And it hurt for a minute. And then I thought, no, this is exactly what it takes to build a business. I have to hire people to do a job and they're going to incrementally increase the value of the business. Yeah. And that was a really hard concept to accept. You know, now payroll's $300,000 every 2 weeks. And so it's like, so now you just go, sure, it is what it is. So,
well, it's so great. So fast forward, you know, you're young right now, got a lot of gas in the tank, financial resources, a lot of purpose. And kind of we'll get to some of the legacy type stuff in a second. You're fast forward to your funeral. Like, what are people going to say about you, or what do you want them to say about you? Like, if you said, hey, I finished this thing up right, you know, who's there and what are they saying?
Nice matters. And I think that's one of the things I struggle with. You know, when I demand a lot out of people, and I wasn't always nice to them when I was younger. So for the balance of my life, I want people to understand and know that, yeah, it's okay. You know, you messed up, but I'm going to be nice to you. Yeah. Nice matters. This is Scott Hansen was a gentleman that I knew who died of cancer. He was a cousin in my wife's side of the family, and he died of cancer. And he had wristbands at his funeral, and it said, because this thing was nice matters. And I've kind of adopted that as my own after his death. And it does matter. Being nice matters. Yeah. And it says a lot about you when you are nice and you have control of your faculties when it comes to controlling your anger. Yeah. So I want people to just say, he was a nice guy. He was a very nice guy.
Yeah. And who's saying it? Who's there?
Well, hopefully my children. And hopefully all my friends, just the closest people that I know that matter, right? Yeah. That's the whole thing, right? There's a lot of there's a lot of the noise and the white chatter out there. People talk a lot, but those people don't matter. It's just the people that really matter to me. Yeah. I want them to be there saying, Brian did it right. He was a nice guy, and he gave back, right? And that's when you talk about the legacy stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. What gets you fired up? What's the next chapter that like lights you up the most? Like when you're sitting around saying, you know, you're talking about it. Like, I have a vision board of getting a Ferrari. That probably doesn't motivate you anymore. Like, no. Like satisfied needs don't motivate. Like, what's that thing that when you look out, you just say, this fires me up. I want to go do this.
You know what really fires me up is emotional experiences. You know, things that really can tug at my heartstrings. So, as you know, I'm a pilot, and I fly my own little airplane, and I'll be flying a bigger, faster airplane soon. I want to get involved with Angel Flight. Yeah. And Angel Flight is the company where you donate your time and your money and your resources, assets, your planes and stuff, and you go fly people around to get medical procedures done that they otherwise wouldn't be able to get. I want to do stuff like that. I want to help people that can't help themselves. Yeah. Right. And so that's really where like being that guy who comes in and just rescues the situation. You know, there's a gentleman lives in our neighborhood. He's 80 years old. His whole entire septic system went out. Well, I had a mini excavator. So I went over and redug his entire septic system, took a week off my time, took a week out of my life to do it. And that week,
You feel so proud.
I took more registrations that week while I was doing service.
Come on.
I'm dead serious. His name was George Crossman. He's dead now, but he lived in our neighborhood, and he had no way to do this himself. It was impossible for him. And I was knee deep. I was waist deep in his fecal matter and urine and doing his whole entire septic system. And my wife's like, "You're out of your mind." But then when that week finished, I got to my computer and I looked at we took more registrations that day than we've ever taken.
Yo.
Based on the quantity of schools we had at the time. It was an outrageous week, but I felt that felt so good to give back and to do service and to give. But mostly I'm interested in helping children and helping the younger generation learn about business and build businesses and be successful and then understand what to do with the money once they get it. The money was a really driving force when I was younger, but once you get it, then you're kind of like, okay, now I'm safe. Now how do I parlay this into benefiting others? Because if you just pile it up in a bank and disappear, you're not doing anybody any good.
For sure.
And you've been blessed with the money, so why not see what you can do to make it happen for the next people?
Yeah, you're discussing a little bit, but what is kind of your philosophy of money? I know money's a trigger for different people. For some people, it's worldly. For for somebody else, it's a magnifier that makes you more of what you are. I think there's healthy and unhealthy philosophies of money, but what is your philosophy of money?
Well, my watch and your Rolex or anybody's Rolex Daytona that's $500,000 still tell the same time. My car that's a nice daily driver and somebody else's fancy car still goes to the same place. It's the same thing, right? So my philosophy is you can only have so much of nice things.
Yeah.
And once you get a few nice things that you really indulge yourself on, then it just becomes a safety net for you and you can go travel. But you really should figure out how to parlay that money into benefiting others.
Yeah.
Right. And I know that Todd's done a lot of this stuff with donating money to the hospitals, things like that. And I'm sure he's done 1,000 things we know nothing about. And I'm sure you've done it. But I want to be that guy as well. I don't necessarily want my name on the side of the building or anything like that. I'm a little more quiet and reserved, but I definitely want to do those types of things.
I mean, that stuff lights me up like nothing else. And honestly, the people who light me up are the people that just give a lot. Yeah. Like they give their time, they give their money, they give their attention, their skills, they serve,
I saw I talked to the Angel Flight people and the gentleman on the phone said, once in a while, there'll be kids that are literally retrieved from a kidnapping situation and they're going to be reunited with their parents. And you'll fly them to reunite with their parents in this hangar at a certain, and I'm shaking my head going, I want to be that guy.
Oh, that's cool.
I want to be the guy who helps kids reunite with parents or helps little girls get surgeries or little boys get surgeries that otherwise they couldn't get to the location. Otherwise, that's just heartwarming for me. Yeah. Helping save lives and helping improve life for others. That just tugs on my heartstrings. I love it.
Brother, I love doing this. Your story honestly fires me up. I had no idea. And like the stuff that sticks out to me that's like surprised me was how deliberate you are with your habits and rituals and how deliberate you are with kind of creating the life that you want to go to live. Yeah, and how young it started from you and your wife kind of laying on the bed with an Auto Trader and a Slurpee and like dreaming. Yeah. To like how deliberate you are on when I wake up and what that time is, that time of creation versus maintenance. Yeah. And also like how deliberate you are and like, I need to date my wife and I need to, we need to like put time, effort, and energy. And I look at your kids and, being a dad with 5 kids. Yeah. I look at, you're 7 years older than me, but your kids are actually like further. You had those kids young.
Very young. Yeah.
And I look at like, there's people in my life that are a decade older and I look at their families and I'm like, I want to be that a decade from now. Like I want to raise good kids that are kind and that are, and so like, I'm just as we're going through this, I'm looking at your life and I just, I've got to honor you for building a beautiful life. And I just can't wait to go see kind of the next chapters of the book because it feels like the effort and the energy and the time that you've put into your business and your career and your personal development and even your health, it feels like you're positioning yourself to kind of have your best work in the years to come and kind of not in the past. And so anyway, I appreciate all that. That's very complimentary of you. I've loved hearing the story.
It's very humbling for somebody to say that because I've never really had anybody reflect on it like that. So thank you very much.
It's really cool. Thanks for being here, brother.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we'll see you.